Welcome back to Nadia's Notes. Tonight I attended an event at a Catholic cathedral which was focused on what do we do during Lent. And there were wonderful questions about this and that. Like, so for example, Lent traditionally was a time where you deny yourself some kind of a food. So still to this day, on Fridays, Catholics do not eat meat for Lent. But at the parish, we had a discussion of what else one could do besides food for Lent. And there were a couple of really good ideas that maybe some of you could follow. I don't want to talk about this. I've been thinking about Dima again, my friend, and I think there's an event being organized for him, but I am not included in it. So I'm trying to find out how one negotiates finding out where this is being held, when, who's the organizer. God willing, I'll be able to participate. I still feel like he is around and he's with me. I think he is with a lot of his friends. So something to look forward to. When we're not confined to the physical form, we can love the people that we love spiritually in a much stronger way. So I felt his presence because I'm definitely going to this event. I'm going to dress up. The event that I started talking about at the beginning. And I'm just going to make connections. I'm just going to come up to people and say, hey, my name is Nadia. What's your name? And see how it goes. I can't say that I made very many connections, but I spoke to some people that I couldn't speak to before. So I'm very proud of that. Or just spoke to new people, made new friends. An accomplishment for someone with social anxiety, huge accomplishment. What else? I really love the discussion that Father Jonah was having about Lent and what does it mean? What does Lent mean? And so it's about self-control, and it's about denial, and it's about commemorating and kind of trying to approximate the 40 days and nights that Jesus spent in the Negev desert. And it was very interesting when I think Father Jonah was like, well, what was Jesus doing in the Negev? And I wanted to say, Father Jonah, have you ever been in the Negev? I had the privilege of being in the Negev, and it feels like magic. I'm not saying that if one is stuck there for 40 days without food, it's magical. What I'm saying is that the Negev has a magical energy. When I visited Israel for Birthright, one of the nights we got to spend with the Bedouins in their tents in the middle of the Negev. And so you come out of the tent and you're just surrounded by a sense of peace. I'm not sure that was exactly the case when Jesus was there. I'm not sure that's what it was like 2,000 years ago, especially given that there were probably wild animals there at the time. But when I visited there, it was all peaceful and safe and really, really beautiful. So I don't know, maybe Jesus was having revelations in this magical place for 40 days and nights. So then it made me think whether outside of Passover, the Jews commemorate the 40 years of wandering in the desert, because that's what the 40 days commemorates. Or is the Jewish commemoration, our commemoration, the Passover? And from the little research I was able to do during the lecture or kind of conversation that Father Jonah was having with all of us, I think it's the Passover that's the commemoration of the 40 years of wandering. And so in the Jewish tradition, the wandering was done so that a new generation of Jews could be born, a generation could die, and a generation could be born, and a generation that understood what it meant to be free and not to be a slave. And also a generation that was not going to be influenced by idolatrous cultures, so cultures where there was veneration of objects or veneration of deities to whom there were sacrifices, human sacrifices made, or baby sacrifices were made. And so it was almost like a cleansing period before coming in and claiming the Holy Land as one's own. So, and then the conversation keeps going and going. Like, people have wonderful comments like, what do I do? Like, if I want to get all of my micronutrients in, but like I want to give up something for Lent. And all of a sudden, so this went like, Father Jonah was incredible. It was like an hour long conversation, at least, between him and everyone that was there. And the main question became, what is the meaning of Lent, fundamentally? Or maybe that was not a question that got addressed at the beginning, now that I think about it. But in conclusion, I had this like insight as we were talking, and everyone was like asking this question, like, what should I give up? But under the question was always, why? Why? What is the aim? What is the goal? Where is this supposed to bring us? And so it all of a sudden occurred to me that this event, like any other, brings us once again back to love God and love your neighbor as yourself. So, if I understand correctly, to love God means to know about God and to trust that the things that He said for us to do, if we do them, will give us a better life and will give us holiness and will give us a connection and a relationship with Him and will um, keep us safe from idolatry, which is death fundamentally. It prevents us from being connected to God, from knowing about God, and as a result, even while we're alive, brings about our death. But the second part is even potentially more relevant for the essence of Lent. And so, when making a decision about what to give up, there potentially what is being asked is to come from a place of love, willing the good of the other or of yourself. Because we had a lot of conversation like, you can't just give up something without replacing. You can't give up things that are going to completely destabilize you, except for mortal sins. And I don't know which sins are mortal. I couldn't figure that out. But then it was like a flash of insight, which just demonstrated that if whatever you're doing during Lent, there has to be a reflection of that love, of like willing the good of the other or willing the good of the self. Like, because we talked about, so for example, if you have, let's say you smoke, but you want to give up smoking, kind of do it slowly and like wean yourself off potentially, right? I don't know if it works. It's like these are complicated situations, especially when it relates to drugs. Like, what's the best way to wean yourself off of a drug? But I think for anything, if you come from a place of love, from a place of this thing that I want to do it because I think it will be good for you. Or this thing that I want to do, I want to do it because I think it will be good for me. Like, I don't know, when, Father Jonah said, maybe you want to do 10 push ups and that's your Lent kind of dedication. That could only be good for you unless you have medical conditions, right? There are always caveats, unless. And so it is really beautiful how everything in relating to God, relating to your own nature by knowing that you're created in the image of God and treating your neighbor as yourself is all circling around the main theme of relating and love, relating and love, relating and love. Relating is an act of love. Love is an act of relating. And so I guess that's my insight. for today. And oh, and as I was sitting there, so I came into the event and I'm like, oh, and then I was like, and then I heard Dima's voice, Nadia, just do it. You can do it. And then I hear Dima's voice saying, look beautiful, express yourself, go for your dreams, be out there, like, be yourself out there, don't hide. I hear the don't hide. And for a second, I imagined that he was sitting on my right and I was holding his hand. And I remembered one of the poems that I wrote for him where it was a poem about how, like, if he were sitting next to me on the train and we never got to take a chance to take the train together, he would protect me if anything was about to happen. He just gave off that vibe, kind of. Yeah. I hope you have a blessed evening. And if you watch this during the day, a blessed day. And I hope that you find the places and spaces in your life where you feel and you know that you're loved and you're supported and you're not alone. And there are people, both alive and those who have departed, that are rooting for you, that are deeply in love with you, and that are super supportive and want nothing more for you in your life than for you to be you. And for that you-ness, for that uniqueness, for that personality to be brought and to shine into the world for this, for you, as you are, with your physicality, in this moment, with your kind of thoughts and ideas and your truth in the moment, as long as you're striving, like towards, or have the desire to strive and some action towards the good, that you express yourself and you let that be known, and that hopefully that can be an inspiration to someone else who's holding themselves back, or who's feeling shy, or who's feeling socially awkward, or anything that anyone is struggling with.